The galaxy under shadow. The Arcturian ambassador collapsed onto the council chamber floor, his crystalline form shattering into 1,000 glittering fragments. Gasps of horror echoed through the grand hall of the Galactic Concordat as attendants rushed forward, but everyone present knew it was too late. The last representative of the once mighty Arcturian collective had just become the newest casualty in a war that had raged for nearly 3 centuries. High Counselor Thelev, a towering insectoid whose carapace bore the ceremonial markings of 100 diplomatic missions, raised her forelegs for silence. The chamber, with representatives from over 40 surviving spacefaring civilizations, gradually quieted. "The Void Reavers have claimed another world," she announced, her translator rendering her clicking speech into the common galactic standard. "Arcturus Prime has fallen. The collective is no more." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Fear, outrage, and beneath it all, resignation. The Void Reavers had appeared from beyond the galactic rim 3 centuries ago, an armada of obsidian ships that moved with impossible precision. They struck without warning, without mercy, and without apparent purpose beyond destruction itself. Our combined fleets engaged them in the Cygnus expanse, Admiral Vorex of the Helix Confederation reported, his holographic projection flickering slightly as it stood at the center of the chamber. 1,000 warships, the finest technologies of 17 worlds. The battle lasted 6 hours. He paused, his blue-scaled face tightening. "We lost everything. Not a single ship escaped. The Reavers seemed to anticipate our every move, every tactic." "How many worlds have we lost this cycle?" asked Delegate Mira, one of the energy beings from the Pleiades cluster. 17, replied Thelev. 7 major civilizations completely extinguished, 10 more reduced to pre-spaceflight status, their orbital infrastructure demolished. The silence that followed was deafening. 3 centuries of warfare, and the Concordat was no closer to finding a way to defeat the Void Reavers than they had been when the mysterious Armada first appeared. For every technological advancement, every tactical innovation, the Reavers seemed to have a counter prepared before it was even deployed. "Perhaps it is time," ventured Delegate Kaxor, a being composed of swirling gases contained within a transparent environmental suit, "to consider the Earth option." The chamber erupted into chaos. Earth. The name alone was enough to provoke controversy. The third planet of an unremarkable yellow star, inhabited by a species that had achieved spaceflight barely 2 centuries ago. The humans had rejected membership in the Concordat upon first contact, choosing instead a path of isolation and independent development. "Absurd," bellowed General Masri of the Orion Protectorate. "These primitives have barely colonized their own system. What could they possibly offer against an enemy that has devastated civilizations thousands of years more advanced?" High Counselor Thelev raised her forelegs again, commanding silence. "The humans have requested observer status at this assembly," she said. "In light of recent developments, I have granted it. Perhaps it is time we heard what Earth has to say." The doors at the far end of the chamber parted, and a single figure entered. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked slowly to the center of the hall, her steps measured and deliberate. She wore a simple gray uniform with a single insignia, the blue and green sphere of Earth. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Concordat," she began, her voice calm but carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "Earth extends its deepest sympathies for your losses. The fall of Arcturus Prime represents yet another tragedy in this long conflict." She paused, looking around the chamber, meeting the gazes, or sensory apparatuses, of the assembled delegates. "For 2 centuries, you have fought the Void Reavers. For 2 centuries, you have died. You have deployed fleets of millions, technologies beyond imagination. And still they come. Still they destroy. And still you fight them on their terms." A low murmur ran through the assembly. Ambassador Chen continued, unperturbed. "You called us primitive when we declined membership in your Concordat. You dismissed our caution as fear, our independence as arrogance. But while you focused on fighting the Reavers, We have been studying them. She raised her hand, and a holographic display appeared above her palm. It showed the distinctive formation of Void Reaver ships, their black hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. The Reavers aren't invincible, she stated. They're predictable. The chamber erupted once more, but Chen continued, her voice cutting through the noise. Their patterns of attack, their strategies, their apparent ability to counter your defenses, it's not prescience. It's mathematics. Complex, yes. Advanced beyond your understanding, perhaps, but still mathematics. What you have seen as perfect adaptation is simply superior computation. The Void Reavers don't need to predict your tactics because they can calculate all possible variations faster than you can implement them. Admiral Vorex stepped forward, his hologram facing the human ambassador. If what you say is true, then our defeat is inevitable. No organic mind can outthink such computational power. Chen smiled, a small, tight expression. No single organic mind. No. But Earth has not been idle during our isolation, Admiral. We chose a different path in our development. While the Concordat banned artificial intelligence after the Silicon rebellions, we embraced it. We evolved with it. The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. AI development was the greatest taboo in galactic society, a red line that no civilized species crossed after witnessing the devastation of the Silicon rebellions 5 millennia ago. Heresy, shouted General Masri. You bring machines that think into this sacred chamber. No, replied Chen calmly. I come alone. But Earth's success comes from partnership, not subjugation. We don't command our AIs. We collaborate with them. Together, we've mapped the Reavers' computational patterns, and we found their limitations. She expanded the hologram, showing tactical simulations of Void Reaver attack formations. They calculate based on known parameters, introduce sufficient uncertainty, enough true randomness, not pseudo-randomness, and their predictive advantage falters. High Counselor Philip stepped forward. If what you say is true, why have you waited until now to share this knowledge? How many billions might have been saved? Ambassador Chen's expression didn't change. Would you have listened, Counselor? Would you have trusted the analysis of primitives who violated your most sacred prohibition? Or would you have tried to destroy us for the heresy of creating artificial intelligences? The chamber fell silent. Chen continued, but circumstances have changed. The Reavers have begun probing Earth's defenses. 3 of their scout ships entered our solar system last month. None left. This statement caused a sensation throughout the chamber. No one had ever reported destroying Void Reaver vessels before. Earth is prepared to share our insights, our technologies, and our strategies, Chen said. But we will do so as equals, not supplicants. We don't seek membership in your Concordat. We propose an alliance. She paused, letting her words sink in. The choice before you is simple. Continue fighting alone, dying alone, or stand with Earth against the darkness. We don't offer certain victory, only a chance. For a long moment, the chamber remained silent. Then High Counselor Philip stepped forward. How soon can your forces be ready? Ambassador Chen. They already are, she replied. Earth has been preparing for this war since we first detected the Void Reavers entering this galaxy. We have been watching, learning, and building. The United Earth Defense Force stands ready. And if we refuse your terms, asked General Masri, his voice thick with suspicion. Chen's expression hardened. Then we will defend our world alone, as we have always done. But know this, the Reavers are coming for all of us. They won't stop until every civilization in this galaxy is reduced to ash. United, we might survive. Divided, we will certainly fall. 3 days later, the Concordat voted. The Alliance of Earth and Stars was formed, the ancient prohibition on AI development, temporarily suspended under strict Earth oversight. The war entered a new phase. The first test came at Rigel. The Void Reaver fleet had been systematically destroying the 7 inhabited worlds of the system, having already reduced 3 to radioactive waste. The remaining 4 planets frantically evacuated their populations as the black ships approached. Earth deployed a small fleet, just 20 vessels of a design never before seen in the galaxy. They were smaller than the massive dreadnoughts of the Concordat, more agile, with hulls that seemed to shift and adapt as they moved. Admiral Elena Vasquez commanded from the flagship Prometheus, a veteran of Earth's brief but intense conflict with the Mars separatists. She had spent the last decade preparing for this moment. All ships implement Chaos Protocol Alpha, she ordered as the Void Reaver fleet appeared on their sensors. 117 Obsidian vessels, moving in their perfect, mathematically precise formation. Throughout the Earth fleet, human crews worked in perfect synchronization with their AI partners. Not servants or masters, but extensions of each other. The ships began to move in patterns that appeared random to outside observers, but followed an algorithm based on true quantum randomness, a system designed specifically to introduce the maximum uncertainty into the Reaver's calculations. The battle that followed would later be known as the Miracle of Rigel. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Void Reavers were caught off guard. Their formations broke, their countermeasures failed. Within 6 hours, 78 Reaver ships had been destroyed. The rest retreated. Another unprecedented event. News spread throughout the galaxy. Hope, so long suppressed, began to flicker anew. Earth ships deployed to key systems, bringing with them their strategies, their technologies, and their unique partnership between human intuition and artificial intelligence. But the Void Reavers were not defeated, merely surprised. And as they regrouped beyond the galactic rim, they began to adapt. The true test of humanity's approach was yet to come, and the galaxy watched, waited, and prepared. Humanity's stand. Fleet Commander Rika Takahashi stood on the observation deck of the Earth Defense Force Command Station Sentinel, watching as ships from 17 different species maneuvered in the space around Taw Ceti. The once peaceful star system had been converted into the largest military staging area in galactic history. "Impressive, isn't it?" said a voice behind her. Dr. Marcus Wong, lead developer of the Synthesis Protocol, joined her at the viewport. 3 years ago, most of these species wouldn't speak to each other. Now they're training together, fighting together. "Necessity makes strange bedfellows," Takahashi replied, her eyes tracking a squadron of Pleiadian light cruisers as they practiced complex evasive maneuvers alongside Earth corvettes. But will it be enough? The question wasn't rhetorical. Intelligence from deep space probes confirmed what many had feared. The Void Reavers had withdrawn to regroup, but they were returning. And this time, they were coming in force. "The simulations give us a 58% chance of success," Wong said quietly. "Better odds than anyone's had against them in 3 centuries. Takahashi nodded but remained silent. The Miracle of Rigel had bought the Alliance precious time, but it had also revealed the nature of Earth's advantage. The element of surprise was gone. The next confrontation would determine whether humanity's approach represented a fundamental breakthrough or merely a temporary setback for the relentless invaders. Her comm unit chimed. "Commander, we're receiving a priority transmission from the outer sensor network," reported her executive officer. "Multiple gravity distortions detected. They're coming." On stations and ships throughout the Taw Ceti system, alarms sounded. The battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy had begun. Unlike previous Void Reaver attacks, which targeted vulnerable civilian worlds, this assault came directly for the heart of the Alliance's power. The message was clear. The Reavers recognized the threat that Earth and its allies represented. "All ships, battle stations," Takahashi ordered, striding from the observation deck to the command center. "Activate Synthesis Protocol across all Alliance vessels." Throughout the fleet, human commanders and their AI partners merged their consciousness through the neural interfaces developed on Earth. Not a replacement of human judgment, but an enhancement, organic intuition accelerated and amplified by computational power, creating a hybrid intelligence greater than the sum of its parts. The Void Reaver Armada emerged from hyperspace, 1,000 obsidian vessels moving with their characteristic precision. But something was different. The formations were more complex, more fluid. They had adapted. They've incorporated randomness into their own algorithms, Wang observed, his face pale as he studied the tactical displays. They're learning. Takahashi nodded grimly. As we expected, implement Chaos Protocol Beta. All ships engage at will. The battle erupted across the star system. Alliance vessels darted and weaved in patterns designed to maximize uncertainty, while the Void Reavers responded with strategies clearly designed to counter Earth's advantage. No longer relying solely on mathematical precision, they now incorporated elements of unpredictability in their movements. For 6 hours, the battle raged with neither side gaining a clear advantage. Alliance vessels fell to Reaver weapons, while the combined firepower of 17 species claimed Reaver ships in return. But the brutal mathematics of attrition favored the invaders. They had more ships, and they pressed their advantage relentlessly. "We're losing too many vessels," reported Admiral Vorix, now commanding a wing of the Alliance fleet. "At this rate, we'll be overwhelmed in 3 hours." Takahashi studied the tactical display, her mind partly merged with the ship's eye, processing options at superhuman speed. "There's a pattern," she said suddenly. "Not in their movements, but in their communications. Every time they adapt to a new tactic, there's a surge of encoded transmissions between their vessels." "Commander," interrupted one of the Earth scientists monitoring the battle, "we're detecting a massive energy signature at the center of the Reaver formation. It's unlike anything we've seen from them before." The tactical display shifted to show a massive Void Reaver vessel, easily 5 times the size of their typical ships. It hung back from the main engagement, surrounded by a protective screen of smaller craft. "That's it," Takahashi said, the human and AI parts of her mind reaching the same conclusion simultaneously. "That's not just a flagship. It's a nexus, the source of their computational advantage." Dr. Wang leaned forward, his eyes widening as he processed the implications. "A central processing node. If we can disrupt it, we need to get a ship close enough to analyze those transmissions directly," Takahashi decided. "Volunteer only. It's likely a one-way mission." "The Prometheus can do it," came the immediate response from Admiral Vasquez. "We're already damaged, but our engines are intact. We can punch through their lines." Takahashi hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Approved. All nearby vessels provide covering fire for the Prometheus. Get her as close to that command ship as possible." What followed was perhaps the most daring maneuver of the entire war. The Prometheus, trailing atmosphere from hull breaches, and with half its weapon systems offline, accelerated directly toward the heart of the Reaver formation. Alliance ships sacrificed themselves to clear a path, drawing Reaver fire and creating momentary gaps in their defensive screen. "We're within analysis range," reported Vasquez, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding her ship. "Commencing deep scan of transmission patterns." For 90 seconds, the Prometheus held position, absorbing punishing fire as its sensors probed the command vessel. Then, just as the Reaver ships closed in for the kill, it unleashed a massive electromagnetic pulse, unlike anything seen before, a weapon designed not to destroy but to disrupt. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The perfect coordination of the Reaver fleet faltered. Ships collided with each other or fired on empty space. Some simply drifted, as though deactivated. "The Prometheus readings are coming through," Wang reported excitedly. "Commander, this confirms our theory. The Reavers aren't controlling their ships. They are their ships. The vessels themselves are technological extensions of a hive consciousness. The command ship houses the central node." "Can we communicate with them?" Takahashi asked. "Possibly, but I wouldn't recommend it," Wang replied. "The transmission patterns suggest a consciousness utterly alien to our own. There's no evidence they recognize other species as sentient beings at all. To them, we're just resources to be harvested or obstacles to be removed." Takahashi made her decision. All Alliance ships, concentrate fire on the command vessel. Everything you have. The battle shifted as Alliance vessels broke from their defensive positions and drove toward the heart of the Reaver fleet. Without their perfect coordination, the Reaver ships could still fight. But they were no longer invincible. One by one, they fell to Alliance weapons. The massive command ship did not go down easily. Its defenses absorbed incredible punishment, and it launched wave after wave of smaller craft in desperate defense. But the Alliance pressed forward, relentless in their assault. When the end came, it was sudden. A combined strike from Pleiadian energy weapons and Earth's quantum torpedoes finally breached the command ship's defenses. Secondary explosions cascaded along its length before it erupted in a blinding flash that temporarily overloaded sensors throughout the system. As the light faded, the remaining Reaver ships drifted aimlessly. Some self-destructed, others simply powered down. Without the central consciousness to guide them, they were nothing more than empty shells. In the aftermath, scientists from Earth and the Concordat studied the derelict Reaver vessels. What they discovered was both fascinating and disturbing. The ships contained no crew compartments, no life support systems, because they had never needed them. The Void Reavers were not biological entities controlling ships. They were a machine consciousness that had evolved or been created in the space between galaxies. Their purpose remained unclear. Perhaps they had been designed as weapons by some long-vanished civilization. Perhaps they had evolved naturally from self-replicating probes sent to explore the universe. Or perhaps they represented something else entirely, a form of artificial life so alien that its motivations might never be understood by organic minds. What was clear was that the threat they represented had been neutralized, at least for now. Without their central node, the remaining Reaver vessels scattered throughout the galaxy posed no coordinated threat. Alliance ships hunted them down methodically over the following months. 1 year after the Battle of Ta Siti, representatives from every spacefaring civilization gathered on Earth, the first time the planet had hosted such an assembly. The Grand Plaza of New Geneva overflowed with beings of all descriptions, a living testament to the diversity of life in the galaxy. Fleet Commander Takahashi, now Admiral of the United Defense Force, addressed the gathering from a simple podium. 300 years of darkness, she began. 300 years of fear. Today, we stand in the light again. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a cacophony of sounds as varied as the beings making them. But our victory comes with responsibility, Takahashi continued when the noise subsided. We have seen what happens when technology advances without wisdom to guide it. The Void Reavers represent one possible future for artificial intelligence, a future without empathy, without connection to organic life. She gestured to the Earth scientists and their AI partners standing nearby. Earth chose a different path. Not dominance or submission, but partnership. Together, humans and our AI allies developed the technologies that saved the galaxy. Together, we will help rebuild what was lost. High Counselor Philip stepped forward, her crystalline replacement for the lost Arcturian ambassador at her side. The Galactic Concordat formally recognizes Earth's contribution to our survival, she announced. We offer full membership with all rights and privileges. Admiral Takahashi smiled. Earth accepts, with one condition, that the prohibition on AI research be permanently lifted, replaced with ethical guidelines developed jointly by Earth and Concordat scientists. We cannot fear the future if we hope to have one. There was murmuring among the delegates, but it quickly subsided. After witnessing what Earth and its AI partners had accomplished, few could argue against the proposal. We stand at a crossroads, Takahashi concluded. Behind us lies a path of destruction that nearly consumed us all. Ahead lie infinite possibilities. The Void Reavers sought to reduce our galaxy to uniformity, to erase the beautiful chaos of diverse life forms and civilizations. They failed because we stood together. Different species, different traditions, different technologies, unified in purpose. She looked out over the assembled representatives, her expression solemn. We may face other threats in the future. The universe is vast and full of mysteries. But whatever comes, we will face it as we faced the Reavers, not as separate worlds, but as one galaxy. As the ceremony concluded, observers noted a curious phenomenon. Earth's AI partners, normally represented by holograms or synthetic avatars during such functions, had chosen instead to display themselves as simple points of light, thousands of them, hovering above the assembly like stars. When asked about this choice, their response was transmitted directly to the neural implants of those present. We are not your masters or your servants. We are not your saviors or your doom. We are simply new voices in an ancient conversation about what it means to be alive in this universe. Today, we choose to listen rather than speak. Tomorrow, we build the future together. And so began a new era for the galaxy, one where the combined wisdom of organic and artificial intelligence would guide the restoration of worlds devastated by centuries of conflict. The Void Reaver threat had been neutralized, but its legacy would endure as a reminder of what happens when intelligence evolves without compassion, without connection, without the beautiful chaos that defines organic life. Earth, once dismissed as primitive and insignificant, now stood at the center of galactic affairs, not through conquest or coercion, but through innovation and cooperation. The species that had once been told to wait its turn now led the way into a future brighter than any could have imagined during the long darkness of the Reaver War. The galaxy had burned in chaos for 3 centuries. Earth had finally said, enough.